season against Curtis. We had to switch a couple things in the schedule. We head out to Curtis, and it was a difficult start. You know, Curtis was a team that we knew they were coming into the season pretty prepped. We knew that they were going to be good, athletic. We played them in the ULAX program over the summer, and we knew that they were the finalists last year. They wound up playing South Bronx in the final last year, and we did okay. We held our own a little bit for the most quarters. It was a tough one. We cranked out a couple of goals. Didn't get enough shots on cage. But we wound up losing over there at Curtis 4-7, or 7-4, and we wound up losing. But I'll tell you what, though, we played some defense, and that day was led by our goalie Andrew Carnegie with 17 saves, and he wound up getting player of the game. So this year we purchased a giant hat called a noggin. I'm sure you've seen them in the NFL and in the baseball league. So we wound up getting a giant hat, and we awarded each one of our players of the game with the hat, and the kids loved it, and they went nuts. So Andrew, you got the first noggin player of the game. We wound up going the next game the day later on that Tuesday over to Susan Wagner High School, and we did good. We not sure what to expect from Susan Wagner. We wound up defeating them 8-0. They had a new coach, nice guy. I'm not one to really bury anyone in the first game, even though we were up 6-0. We're up 5-0 or 6-0 in the first quarter, and I kind of pulled the team at the end of the first quarter and said, slow down a little. Let's just slow down. Let's run our offense, because I think any one of us offensively can just weave through their defense and try to figure out a way to score, but I'd rather do a lot more practice, rotate the ball around the horn a couple times. So we jump out to a 5-0 lead in the first quarter. Those goals were scored by a couple by Bavaro, tallied by Mike Murphy, had a goal that day. JV, Vitali, Asani, you had a fantastic day. You had a nice goal that day. I know he was hyped. And ultimately, we wound up winning 8-0, which was ironically the number of face-offs that we won 8-0, which is the reason why Yatan got the noggin that day. Player of the game right there, Yatan Asani. So we host on that Thursday Midwood, and I'm not sure if we like Midwood too much. And there's a couple things that go a little bit wrong in my own brain early in that game. I grew up a football guy. So there's a couple of things that are no-nos when you come to Tottenville and you're a football guy. And this is all internal, by the way. No one knows the way I'm feeling prior to the game because on my face it's always the same way. But internally, they walked across my sideline. So now my belly starts getting a little twisted. Nobody walks across our sideline before the game. Then they start warming up in the middle of the field on our tee. So now I'm even a little more anxious and a little pissy. On top of that, the boys know that the coach gives me the limp fish handshake, which I can't stand. Because there's a couple words being exchanged in previous years, and he gives me that, how you doing handshake. I'm like, oh. So between those kind of things, I tell the guys, keep the foot on the pedal, dude. We're going to crush these guys. So we come out there, we start strong. And we just dominate. We dominate. We had hat tricks by John Vitali. We had goals by Kotler, Mikey Combs, Devin. We're up 11-0 by halftime. We scored by the third quarter. There are 5 more goals. Goals by Sean Leroy. Get it going. Sean Leroy, Michael Fredo, Lombardi, Connell, Bracco. We just go to town and we just absolutely annihilate them. And the player of the game on that game was John Vitali with 4 goals, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up to John. We go to Newdorf, right? So we go to Newdorf on a lovely Saturday. Usually the weather over in Newdorf is always cold and blistery, but it was actually nice. But we stay hot. Offensively, we stay hot. We have 3-1 in the first quarter, 4-2 in the second quarter, 8-2 by the end, and 12-2 by the fourth quarter. And Newdorf was no pushover. They had a pretty decent foundation. They're pretty rough when it comes down to it. But that those statistics were led by a couple of our defenders that day, including Maxine, including Nico Vitale, and our captain, Ralph Mendez. Give it up for those guys. Woo! As they won. As they won the player of the game. Nice job, Ralph. We host Brooklyn Tech. Brooklyn Tech comes to town. They're coming off at number one. They were the number one in their division the year prior. And they wound up turning into the number one in the division this past year. So, like Mutorf, there were no pushover. We actually had the best competition of the year at that point. Because prior to that, it was just Curtis. So, we go out there and we battle respectively. We start slow offensively. Kotler, you grabbed a couple of nice goals out there with some nice outside shots. Mikey Combs, Devin Fernandez, tallied by Mikey Gofredo. So we're pushing a little bit deep, but we know that the defense was pretty decent. They ran a little zone defense against us, kind of trickled us up a little bit. But nonetheless, we don't really score in the third, and we score a couple in the fourth. Mikey Combs finishes up in the fourth with 2 goals in the fourth quarter. A solid outing with a 7-4 win against Brooklyn Tech, and Mikey Comuniello, captain, gets the noggin and the player of the game right there. Woo! 3 goals and 1 assist. We head out to Long Island City on a Sunday. Enough said. Going out on the bus to Long Island City is just torture anyway. And it was interesting to say the least. The commissioner was there. I don't know why he was there, but nonetheless, we went out to Long Island City, and the magic of this game is that we had so many different goal scorers and assists. 8 different goal scorers, 8 different assist players. Some of the guys that don't normally get in were able to get in that game and grab them some experience. DeMonte, you scored your first goal. Dante, I think you had a net, right? Dante, you had a netter in that goal as well. Patty B had a nice assist. Mike Murphy had a nice goal there as well, right? So in the end, the off-speed pitch is what I like to call Tyler's shot. Somehow Tyler winds up pulling a hat trick for that one. The ball goes 4 miles per hour in the net, but he pulled it off. Player of the game goes to Tyler Lombardi, everybody. Woo! Finds the crease, finds the way to get it in. One too many pages. So, then we hit spring break. And we travel to Indiana, where the world is flat. Not much there. It's a beautiful place, though. So we travel out to Indiana, and we have a great time, right, boys? What an experience. And I wanted to thank, even though he's not here, Coach Ponzio, he's always just involved in that, and he coordinated the whole thing. We head out on that Tuesday. It's an all-day trip, a 10-hour affair. We stop twice to get some food. We have all their money in their envelopes. Tell them to keep their receipts, to get out there, and they behave well. You would assume, I've always said to myself I would never take kids far away out of state, and all of a sudden it's the 3rd time in 4 years I've done it. I don't know what's wrong with me. We missed our spring break, right? And we go out there and we play. But nonetheless, we head out there Tuesday, 10 hours later, when we get there. We wake up on Wednesday morning. The breakfast is delicious, right, boys? Nice breakfast. Right, I tape them in their rooms. Let me start with that. I tape them in. So I gotta get the blue tape, tape them up. If the tape's broken the next morning, hell's to pay. But, it worked out great. Not a single tape was broken, not even by accident. We had, whatever you hear, I don't want to know. We had some other issues with the plumbing and stuff like that in some of the rooms, but that's a different story. We head out on a Wednesday morning to Charm University, and we have a nice practice in the morning, and then we depart for Notre Dame University. Notre Dame is great. We told them that we were coming. We wound up getting there around 1 o'clock. We spent a good hour in the multi-level bookstore where you can spend $90 on a polo if you wanted to. They spent plenty of money on that day. And then we headed out to the practice facility where we wound up getting there. We saw the girls, right? The girls lacrosse team at first. And wow, I'm talking about skill set. right? It was amazing watching those girl lacrosse players work that ball around. If we probably played girls Notre Dame, we'd be in big trouble. 6 and equipment nonetheless. Nonetheless, we had a great time. The head coach of Notre Dame actually went over to Coach Falcone and gave him the practice plan. And they're obviously amazing, Notre Dame, and gave him the practice plan. We sat there, we watched their practice. It was a great experience. We head back on the bus. We get back to Trine University where they're playing their Division III game against Hope University. I don't think they won. Did they win that game? No, they lost that game. But it was nice. We were munching on sandwiches on the sideline, and it was a really nice Wednesday. The following Thursday, we have our lovely breakfast in the morning. We go out to Trine University. We have a lovely practice as well, and then we go out to Trine, and our 3 alumni give us a little tour. We run around the campus. We had a great time figuring out what the academics and the things of that nature are all going to be. And we should have stayed for the practice a little later in the day, but we knew that we were playing a scrimmage against Carroll High School that day, so we wound up getting a little bit tired, jumping back on the bus, going back to the hotel, showering up, and then coming back to Trine University where we played Carroll High School. You guys remember the final score by any chance? Bad to us, good, and they're bad. Yeah. 6-1, 6-2. Nonetheless, it was a great experience. They played on the university field, and they had a great time. And then, probably better than that, we wound up going to Buffalo Wild Wings that night, right, boys? Yeah. We had a great time at Buffalo Wild Wings. We probably closed the place. We made sure they ate everything on their plates, which is important because they overeat and they had like 95 wings left on the table, and that would have been a no-no. Buy one, get one, yeah. They all know the specials. We head over that Friday. The last day that we're there, we have, again, a fantastic free breakfast at the hotel. We depart for Trine University once again, practice in the morning. And then our team activity was bowling. Right? Who's our best bowler? Sean Leroy? Mike? Eddie? Sean? JP? Best bowler? I think I broke 100. I think I broke 100 in the first game. If Ponzo would have bowled, he would have showed everyone how to bowl, but he went back to Trine. Did we eat Culver's that day too? Yeah, good times. When we were in Culver's, which is a fast food joint out in Midwest, has anyone ever eaten there? Culver's, fantastic stuff. They bring the food to the table and everything. The manager came up to us and said that our boys were the most well-behaved out-of-towners, that's what the words they used, out-of-towners, that they've ever encountered. So that just gives you a testament of their behavior and their character, and thank you for doing a great job there. We wound up going to play Bishop Dwenger, a different story than Carroll High School. We got beat up a little bit by that team. They came out pretty stoked. It was one of the first games anyway. But we wound up losing to that team. Nonetheless, it wasn't going to ruin our experience. And then we wake up Saturday morning, 5 a.m., get on the bus, and then we travel about 425 miles to Penn State University, where we wound up watching Michigan versus Penn State in that university. We had a great time. We watched the entire game. Michigan wound up winning, right? Yeah, Michigan wound up winning. And then we had another 245 miles back to Tottenville, and it was a great experience. So, parents, thank you for giving me your children. You all came back alive. Thank you for that one. I appreciate it. We come back. Sunday they have rest. Monday they have rest. We go and play Port Richmond. They come to town. And we took care of business. We had 4-0 in the first quarter. Rafael Bavaro had 2 goals. Mikey Calm had 1 in the first quarter. Matty Collar had another 1. We're winning 7-0 by halftime. DeMonte, you scored another goal? DeMonte scores another goal. Fernandez scores some goals. John Vitale and 2 more by Fernandez in the fourth. And then Sean Leroy caps us with the last goal and the last thing there. But the player of the game on that game was Devin Fernandez. Hat trick to that guy right there. Awesome job there. And then we walk into our shootout, right? We wound up going, we changed the venue of the shootout every year. in years past, it was at Tottenville and then Farrell. St. Joseph's was the venue for this year. And we wound up being 4th place last year, wound up playing Farrell as the first place team. And here's where Pat Luca's grit starts to show. You know, we may have not won the game, but the word grit started to come out of us. I think we connected a lot in Indiana. I think that the camaraderie that showed up on the field during the last 2 games, although once again we didn't win against Farrell. Our goalie obviously had a fantastic day that game. We battled every ground ball. I fought with the referees a little bit during that game with the nonsense calls that they were getting. But you know, we came up short. We had about 6 minutes and 30 seconds of penalties, and you can't go in the box that long against a really solid team like Farrell. So they wound up winning 6-1 and moving on to the next quarter. But then our next game against St. Joe's on that Saturday was a different story. St. Joe's was the game of the year. St. Joe's was an awesome game by everybody, and not only with our boys on the sideline, but also on the field. We showed grit, and now the team is clustering together during this game. And I may have been a little bit optimistic in regards to not really worrying about the game too much, so I made a move about starting the young guys in that game. So I spoke to Coach Palmer, and I said, hey, you know, I have a game on Sunday. I got New York the next day, and this will put us in 3 in a row. And 3 in a row technically is a lot, very much a lot for lacrosse players, whether it's the collegiate or high school level. So I talked to Coach Palmer, and I said to him, let's put it on our non-starters. Let's see, we'll get them reps, we'll get them experience. And what wound up happening with getting experience and reps wound up turning into an absolute battle against St. Joe's. And by the 3rd quarter, all of a sudden, I see his number 4 get on the field. I'm like, oh, okay. We're going to play that game? Let's get our guys back in. And all of a sudden, what started out as an experience, you know, non-competitive, let's just get the young guys some experience, wound up being an absolute beast of the game. We wound up going in, let's check out the statistics here. It was 4-2 with 10 minutes left in the second half, right? We tally at 4-3, make it 4-4. We're winning 5-4 with about 5 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. They go up 6-5 with 4 minutes left, and then Mikey Gofredo makes the magic happen at the turn. And then Mikey puts one high cheese in the 4th quarter. High cheese. By the end of the 4th quarter, it's a 6-6 game. We go into 2 overtimes with both teams having solid chances to score, balls going off the pipes, giant saves by Andrew Carnegilla during this time period. Woo! Giant saves. Standing on his head is what the verbiage is, standing on his head. The 3rd, we go through 1 OT, we go through a 2nd overtime, we go through a 3rd overtime, and we get up some goals, and then once again, we go up and down the field a couple times, and the magic happens, and Mikey Gofredo hits the alley, shoots it bottom left, and we wound up winning the game. Great job, boys. That was a freaking fantastic game. Player of the game, Mike Gofredo. Okay, let's continue. I know I'm long-winded, but I appreciate your patience. New York comes to town. 3rd game in a row, right? So after 2 grueling games, we host New York. Tyler Lombardi plays a role. Mikey Gofredo plays a role. It puts us up 2-0 in the 1st quarter, followed by 2 great shots by Matty Kotler in the 2nd. We're winning 4-0 by half. Matty K also puts in the 3rd of the game, followed by Mikey Combs' tally, making the 6-2 by the end of the 3rd quarter. And then our, I don't want to say rookie, but new guy, Anthony Bracco, finishes up with a finishing goal. But it doesn't take away from the player of the game. Matty Kotler gets the noggin for the New York team. Good job, Matty. So we host Wagner back at 100 Luton. They find themselves in the world of hurt. Like, we took it easy on Wagner the first game, giving the guy a little bit of a break as a new coach. But then when they came here, we don't hold back when we play at Tottenville High School. We had eight different goal scorers that game, including 4 for Fernandez, 3 for John Vitale, 2 for Mikey Combs, Raph Bavaro, Matt Cotler, Mike Alfredo, Mike Murphy, and Joey Wren. First of his season right there. With 9 different assist players, including Eddie Parenti with an assist, Jaden Piccarello, Matt Cotler, Aiden Eng, and Christian Connell. What a beast game. We wound up destroying Wagner 14-12. Give it up for Joey Wren, who gets the player of the game on that. The kids were just excited that he went crazy on that. And then we had on a Saturday a makeup game over to Cardozo. I'm not sure who was more aggravated, me or Mr. Comuniello, driving to Queens in the rain, sitting there. And I was hoping and praying that the PSAL figured out a way to have them forfeit against us, because we knew if we went to Cardozo, it was going to be an absolute slaughterhouse, which it wound up becoming an 18-0 game. It didn't happen, Mr. Bloom. We had to go up there with the bus. So, we could have slept in that day. We could have practiced that day. It would have been better for us. But nonetheless, a cold, rainy, wet day. Big plays by a few of our guys. Mike Murphy had a great job in that game. Mikey Combs, you had 3 goals. Pat Boschek, you had a point. Sean Leroy had some work in there as well. Aiden had an absolute monster game. I think we went into the game a little bit like, oh, we're going to beat them up a little bit. But there was something about Aiden's face that he said, I don't care who these guys are. They're good, they're bad. I'm just going to take it to him. He was up and down the field. Eddie Parenti? Eddie Parenti had a goal. Give it up to Eddie, everybody. But the guy that was all about business that day, and the guy that was the player of the game and got the giant knocking hat was Aiden. And give it up for Aiden. Nice job, Aiden. Up and down the field. We go to Port Richmond. I don't think our team or myself has been to Port Richmond in about 10 years. The whole facility changed. I didn't even know they had that turf. Bleachers obviously stayed the same, but we go to Port and we get up early 6-0. We lead by halftime. But the story of that game was our defense. The way we cleared that ball that day was fantastic. Our defenders got to get recognition as well. Ralph Mendez, Max Sang, Nico Vitale, Christian DeMonte, our D-Middies, Aiden Ang, Yatan, Jada Piccarello, Eddie Parenti, all were just absolute beasts in that game, and we really did a great job playing defense on that day. And then because we got up so early, I think, you know what, let's put in the white. Let's put in the white D, the backup guys. Christian Cruz jumps in there, does a great job. Mikey Mirabello, Mike Solomio, Ethan Slutsky, all these guys did a great job. JP jumped in the game, and we just went to town on them, and they dominated. They absolutely dominated on defense. The guy that was clearing the ball, and somehow, although he's not here, I'm not sure if Mikey Solomio's here, but Mikey Solomio got the player of the game on that job right there. So give it up for Mike Solomio. Woo! We finish our season against Curtis. We start against Curtis, we end with Curtis, and we know the outcome. We get down early, 3-0, on our home field, and 4-1 by halftime. But you know we're going to continue to play, and we always do. That's the magic of our Pirates. But the third quarter kicks in. We wound up scoring 3 goals in the third quarter. With the 11th, 9th, and 5th minute of the game, we start rallying back, and they somehow figure out a way to score 1 more, finishing the game with a 7-5 loss. So we didn't want to open up the entire playbook, knowing that we'd wind up seeing Curtis sometime in the playoff. And I think that was beneficial. We were going to maybe lock off. Where's number 2? He's working here today. Yeah, he's in here somewhere. Anyway, he's a great player, Anthony Gambardella. But he did a great job. We wound up losing that game against Curtis, and then we wound up playing the next day against Zavarian, which is our senior night. That day was a great day. Although we came up short, we had a solid outing. We were down 3-2. by the first and 5-3 by halftime. And then, I don't know, sometimes talking to kids about lacrosse at halftime is a bad move. So for some reason, I kind of pulled like what my priest says. And now I go to a Greek Orthodox church, so everything's in Greek. And when he does speak English, he says, "Let us be attentive." So I go, "Let us be attentive." And they all look at me like I'm nuts. And then I start telling them the story about, I'm not sure what I'm telling you guys, but I think it's funny. Christian's favorite, the eggs. Right. The Easter egg. So in the Greek Orthodox religion, we boil hard-boiled eggs and we dye them, and then we take our eggs and we smash them together, and we say Christos Anesti, which means Christ is risen, and we reciprocate it with Elimos. So I tell them the whole story, and they're all enthralled by the story. Christian DeMonte's like, "This is the best halftime speech I've ever heard in my life." I said, "Man, I'll do more of these if you want me to. Don't worry about the adjustments on offense and defense. I'll tell you all about whatever you need to know." And it relaxes them. It relaxes them. They come out in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, and they play relaxed. And even though we came up a little short that day, I think it was something that they can remember. So, when you have a Greek friend out there, ask about the eggs and what they do during Easter. And when you guys have your Greek friends out there, ask about the eggs. It'll be a nice little tale for you to tell your buddies. But then we have a fantastic night, our senior night. And again, thank you, parents, for a beautiful, beautiful senior night. The posters, the specialized, customized pops that you gave them, the gift baskets that you provided them, the decor inside the cafeteria. It's just so above and beyond what you guys do. So thank you so much for honoring your seniors. I'm almost done. We go into playoffs, and we're sitting around waiting for teams to finish the playoffs to figure out where we're going to sit as far as seeding. The commissioner asked the coaches where we should go. And of course I put us at 2. Because in my book, FDA and South Bronx, if FDA beat South Bronx and we lost to Curtis by 5 goals and FDA lost to Curtis by 10 goals, in my book, I think we're better than they are. Nonetheless, we wound up figuring out we're 4th seed in the playoffs, which means we're playing the 5th seed team, which is in Brooklyn Tech. So we host Brooklyn Tech again. We wind up dominating at the face-off. All right, Tony Luca had a lovely day, Coach Luca, because he loves when we win the face-off X. Goals by John Vitale, Matt Kotler, Anthony Bracco. The turning point, though, was ultimately the face-offs, propelling us to win 8-3. And our goalie, once again, which is saving balls left and right, standing on his set, and the player of the game goes to Andrew Carnegie. Final game, unfortunate loss, but we head over back to Curtis. We knew that they were going to be our rival. They're going to be our rival for quite some time. And we battled. And the game plan did not change too much. We knew that we had to have long possessions offensively. We knew that we had to shoot low on their goalie. We knew that we had to win 50% of our extra man offense. We knew that we had to win 50% of our face-offs. And although we didn't win 50 and 50, we did what we can do. We were down 2-1 in the first. We had a fantastic extra man, but Devin fed Rafael Bavaro for a step-down shot in the bottom left part of the cage. The second goal by Johnny Vitale, one more by Gofredo, and we're not that far away. We're battling. It's only a 4-3 game at halftime. We come back a little bit in the third quarter. We've been a little bit of a third quarter team, and we're actually winning the game at this point 6-4 by the fourth quarter. And it was just 2 tails of the tape. We won the second and third. They won the first and fourth quarter. And then they somehow rallied. Number 2 got loose. Number 7 got loose. They had a really nice run of 4-5 goals straight. And, we came up a little short that game. But I do want to read something from one of our parents, John Vitale. We all know kind of what happens at the end of that game with Nico. And it's a tough loss and a tough situation for our team.